Right back tonight here on In Focus, and in our look at the journey towards the May 29 general elections, the South African Council of Churches has prayed for peace and for all political leaders who will be contesting in this month's general elections. The National Day of Prayer was held at Grace Bible Church in Soweto today. Let's discuss this with the Council's Secretary, Bishop Malusi Mpumlwana. Bishop, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. Why was it important that you bring political leadership in particular to be prayed for?
Yes, indeed. We haven't done that before. We've always had prayers, but we've never invited political parties and those that are contesting elections. But we thought it was necessary to do that this time. Excuse me. First of all, the slate is much broader this time. There are many more new parties that have come in. And also we've got independent candidates, and that makes for a kind of a new terrain that needs more grace of God to be supported. And so we thought it might be helpful not only to bring political parties, but also to bring the IEC leadership as well as those who will be responsible for maintaining security during the time, which is why we invited the police national commissioner and his team. And so, because of the greater contestation this year, and this is what we're gathering from our congregations, there's greater tension in a society. Remember that we have in the past seen political killings, we've seen potential conflict. We fear that there might be more of that this year than before. And at the core of this is how political parties and candidates communicate themselves and how they draw people to believe. In fact, some of them may begin to say, do not trust the IEC even before the election has begun. And so we're trying to say, folks, we all have a common responsibility to make sure that stability is sustained in our society and that we do not get to a situation where lives may be lost. And so it was important for us to bring political parties together and their candidates, also to pray for the grace of God upon them, and that they, as they campaign going forward, they should know that they've got our prayers. And we do not believe in this thing of, bringing this political party to pray for them, another one to pray for them, another one to pray for them. Bring all of them together so that they have got an equal repository of God's grace that we can pray for on their behalf.
That's an interesting take, as opposed to the political parties individually going to churches. And viewed in some instances just as a campaigning tactic. Do you believe a dispensation of this nature, or at least a platform like this, is better used than the one that would see the individual parties going to the various churches?
Well, I'll say, Tabo, show me one church that has invited all 70 political parties to pray in their churches. They don't. They will invite Tabo's party and Malusi's party. And why Tabo's party and not Malusi's party, for example? It's because whether this is true or not, we cannot tell. But it gives the optics of favoring a particular party over others. And in a way, one can say, as an agent of God's grace, you have no capacity to say whom God will favor. And therefore, it is better if you do that prayer for everyone. And of course, we do in our churches on an ongoing basis, pray for the political process. And now, if we bring them together in one place, we make that visible and we make it significant. And that's what we're trying to do. And I'm grateful that the political parties and their leaders actually honored this and came and were prayed for, and we felt their presence. Without them, they never said a word. They were not there to address anyone. They were there to receive the grace of God. And I believe that they got the grace of God in abundance.
Now, For those who might not understand the spiritual government and how things operate, would say, well, we've had the Justice Cluster. They've told us that things are going to be peaceful. We've got the SAPS, the commissioner, saying that things are going to be peaceful. Why did we need the church to pray for peace?
Never mind. I think I'm going to pray more for you tonight. You know, something else that, that we need to remember, that there has been a tendency, unfortunately, over time, that there was a time when, regardless of the differences amongst political parties, I'm sure that was the case earlier in our democracy, it was all quite festive. You knew that, that is Constant Viljoen's party and they're campaigning. But nobody thought that Constant Viljoen's party is an enemy to, say, the PAC on the other end. But they were just all campaigning and trying to get votes. It appeared that there was Project South Africa in whatever way. But I think you may or may not agree with me. Of recent, it's more about me and my party. It's almost like I can draw people to me away from everyone else in a way that makes the other person look like the devil incarnate. And I think that because the political parties tend to have the kind of rhetoric that demonizes others, you find that if I become your party's supporter, I find it embarrassing to be even seen talking to somebody who belongs to another party. And it shouldn't be like that. We're all South Africans. And so what we're saying is that come May 30, the day after the elections, you know what? We shall still have the same South Africa, and we shall still all be South African citizens. There will be an elected parliament that will vote for a new administration. That's fine. But it does not matter, because in any race, some win, some lose. And those who win must win with magnanimity, and those who lose must lose graciously. And that's all we're trying to inculcate. We're saying, slow down, take it in, accept that this is all part of the democratic game that we must all play. But there is no different South Africa that's going to emerge after the elections. It will be the same, and we'll still have the same neighbors and the same workmates and the same playmates that we've had before. Let's just take it in properly. And we need the political parties to commit to that. We need the political parties to be prayed for, to, if you like, even against themselves if they wouldn't have done it. But those parties that were there, I believe they felt and they committed themselves to the things that they know are correct.
So many would say, I mean, as the ecclesia, if you look at what is happening in the country, is there a word that you're getting about the future of South Africa and where things are going?
I don't think I understand the question.
Say
that again, please.
As the church, is there a word that you're getting about the future of South Africa and where it is going?
No. We don't have a special word of where the South Africa is going. No, we don't do that. But what we do is to put the issues of South Africa on the cross of the crucified God in Jesus. And that when we celebrate the resurrection, we then also bring the new hope that comes with that, to say, whatever our challenges, come May 30, we shall all rise to a new day as South Africans, and we shall come together to recognize that that parliament which shall have been elected is our parliament, and they represent all of us, regardless of who shall have voted for.
So, Your Grace, without getting into the politics of it, but we've spoken to you previously, for example, about the July unrest, and you've weighed in on what could have led to those tensions. The recent example that we're looking at is, for example, how the ANC would want to handle the disciplinary of the former president, and they were going to bring him to Lutuli House, and they've decided that they're not going to do that because of the tensions and the possible security risk. Do you think that is a good call? Certainly is a wise move to have taken at this time.
You know, internal issues of political parties and how they discipline each other and how they manage those things really entirely belong to them. But I think that all of us have to be conscious of things that have a potential of raising the temperature in our society. Right now, we cannot afford any of that. And that's why I was saying, even if it was not this matter, even if it's a matter of differences in a particular ward that might arise, we would like to say, let's do everything we can to lower the temperature as much as possible. This country cannot afford an eruption of any nature. And that's also why, by the way, we value the fact that some independent candidates chose to come to the prayer day. If these are people that don't have a huge infrastructure, where while I'm here, somebody else, a whole machinery is campaigning for me out there. No, they chose to come to the day of prayer, even smaller parties that don't have that huge infrastructure. Why does this matter? It matters because it means that they recognize that once they make the commitments together, they will, each of them, make sure that nothing under their control that can cause this country to erupt one way or the other. And that is also the reason why it's important to have observer missions, because not all of these small parties have the capacity to be everywhere. You know, we've got a beautiful system in this electoral system that allows every party to be present in every voting station. But those are only the big parties can do it. The small parties don't have that capacity. Typically, independent candidates just have got no way of doing that. They don't have those people. So the observers become a very important system to make sure that they can also stand in for those people. And that's also why we pray for them also today. This is now to say observers, peace monitors, and all those people, they start now. The next 24 days, we'll be doing this, so that it's not just the Luthuli House thing. Whatever it is that can erupt, it must be stopped.
Yeah. There are those, for their own particular political reasons, would want to make us doubt the credibility of the processes that the IEC would be undertaking. As the South African Council of Churches, will you be playing a role in that process of election or observer? And what is your attitude towards the work of the IEC?
You know, Thabo, we've had 6 previous elections, and there's never been a whiff about they are not being credible. And there's no reason now to believe that the IEC does not know what it is doing. Of course, there always is a political party or other that is invested in creating that lack of credibility in order, for whatever reasons they really, for whatever reasons they choose to do that. But I can't believe that suddenly all our systems that we've worked with all these years, suddenly they don't count for anything. But even if they didn't count for anything, what does matter in South African elections is the voting, the counting of the votes, and the declaration of the numbers of every party in that voting station. And that is why the observer system is so critically important, because every party is there and they all sign off when it is done. It doesn't get announced at IEC without it having been acknowledged by those who were present. And that's why the presence of these people is so important. I think that political parties should invest in making sure that they have got observers in every station that counts for them, instead of raising the ire against the system of the IEC. I don't believe that the IEC has suddenly collapsed in its systems over all these years. No, I don't think so. I think that they will do a good job, and we need to support them.
Your Grace, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. The Secretary General of the South African Council of Churches, Bishop Malusi Mpumlwana.